Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code ONEFREEPP for a free single card today.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. I'm Gino Buccola alongside David Aragona. We're here for a preview of Race 7 on Saturday, October 12th at Belmont at the Big A. This one is the Floral Park. It's a 6-furlong turf sprint for fillies and mares 3-year-olds and up. Thought a pretty contentious group in here, David, as we take a look at the field for this one. Towards the middle of the group, Risk Threshold is very sharp right now as a horse who's fast, who has won 2 in a row, trying to make it 3 in a row. But I think to the outside, you have some horses that are in really nice form. Then down to the inside, you have horses that are in really nice form. So overall, I thought a pretty contentious group in here. I'm excited to go through this one race by horse by horse for this race. And as we take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector, what sort of stood out to you about this group?
Yeah, I made the number 5 Risk Threshold the morning line favorite, not so much because she's more accomplished than the others in this field, but because taking a look at this pace projector, it does feel like she's going to have another opportunity to get a very good trip up towards the front end. I guess we'll see how much pressure a horse like the number 8, how about Dem Apples applies. She is adding blinkers for the first time, so maybe that's going to give her a little bit more speed, but she's not a horse when you look at her running style that's necessarily a need the lead type or even really ever a front runner. And Risk Threshold has just been quick enough to get to the front, secure easy leads in each of her last 2 races, has been visually impressive. It's a big step up in class, but if she gets the same kind of trip again, she might be able to make it.
Let's meet the field here from the inside with the number 1 Loon Cry. This is a New York bred 4-year-old filly who she just loves to win races, David. She's 7 for 10 overall on the turf. And what is impressive to me is that's a really strong win record for a horse with her running style where she's not really fast early. She doesn't really make her own trip. She's kind of at the mercy of pace and a little bit of racing luck, but she sure knows where the wire is. And if you eliminate her synthetic race and, you make 1 or 2 excuses, you don't have to make many for her. She just is a really, really honest horse.
Yeah, when you get her covered up early, shut off in the opening quarter to 3/8 of a mile of a race, and then unleash her in the stretch, she really puts in a strong kick to the wire. And you can see her doing just that here in the Sensible Lady as she's actually outrunning her stablemate Love Appeals that we'll get to in a little bit. As you say, she loves to win races, 7 for 10 on the turf. Kind of interesting that she's only 1 for 4 at Aqueduct, so she's 6 for 6 at other venues than this. So just kind of interesting to note. And the one time that she tried Stakes Company on the New York circuit was in the autumn days last year, wasn't quite good enough against a field that seems like it was of similar quality to this one. So she's run speed figures that are a cut below some others. I'll be interested to see if she can make this slight step up in class.
Number 2, Hollywood Walk is stakes place. A couple starts back over at Colonial. Then was a winner last time out facing a softer group. This is a Maryland bred who will now step up and face a little bit better. What do you think about her in here? And I couldn't get a really read for her. Does she want to be kind of mid-pack, more towards the back of the pack? I think she'll probably have to step up against this group.
Yeah, she is the older half sister to Mindframe, one of the most talented horses that we saw on the racetrack this year. She has a completely different type as a turf sprinter, and yeah, she's another one that's going to need to get a little faster coming into this race. She was okay beating Allowance or Handicap Company last time, coming up the inside. Just feels like she's going to have to run a little better than that. She's got that 188 buyer going back to May of this year, coming off the layoff where she ran well behind Future Is Now, who's a horse who would be the favorite if she were in this race. Just feels like her recent form is going to need to be improved upon a little bit to beat this group.
Number 3, Love Appeals, finished 3rd behind Loon Cry in that stakes race that we looked at Laurel Park. That was back on September the 14th. She was actually 2-1 in that race, and Loon Cry was 9-2. So she got bet more, and she has a little more tactical speed, David, Love Appeals. She came off of 2 wins in a row at Monmouth Park before that 3rd place finish. So maybe she could get a jump on the horse who defeated her in that stakes race, and maybe she can just kind of put herself into the race here. How does she stack up?
She's got some faster speed figures than Loon Cry when you look back through her entire history, so I guess that's why she was a shorter price last time. And like you said, she does have that tactical speed, but going back to watch that Sensible Lady, I thought she had every chance. She got out at the top of the stretch, had all such an opportunity to run by the leaders. Didn't seem like she really picked up the pace at all, and almost got caught for third at the end of that race. So I didn't like the visual of that one. And when I go back through her form, she's run some of her bigger speed figures against lesser competition. When she stepped up against tougher stakes company, she doesn't always deliver her best performance. So she's one that I didn't feel like I could fully trust in this particular spot.
Number 4, Secret Money. Oh, for the last 8, but run some big races in that stretch. Grade 3 winner. The lack of early speed, I'm kind of hemming and hawing a little bit with her because she's not fast early. I'm not exactly sure how this race shapes up, but from a class standpoint, David, she certainly feels like the one that's coming out of by far the best races.
Yeah, she is the class of this field. That's pretty clear. And while she hasn't won since taking down that Music City at Kentucky Downs over a year ago at this point, I think she's run well in most of her starts this year, even though she's 0 for 6. I mean, she didn't even run that badly at Kentucky Downs last time in that ladies' turf sprint where AG Bullet just ran off on the front end, didn't give anybody else a chance, but don't look back at all, who was second in that race, who actually won the crest that she was in 2 back. She's one of the better turf sprinters among the females in this country right now. And going back to that crest 2 back, I mean, she was right there in a blanket finish with a bunch of horses that would all be clear favorites in a spot like this. So I think she makes a lot of sense. Like you, I'm a little bit concerned about her lack of early speed, but I think she's the best horse in this race, and she might not go favored due to the perceived pace advantage of the horse we're going to talk about next.
And if you're just looking at buyer speed figures, I know it's not always this simple, but she has 4 races where she's been into the 90s. I think the rest of the field combined has 2. So she's just run a lot faster. And if the price gives you a little value here, she may be one that you need to upgrade in how you're planning on playing this race. Risk threshold looks like the one they'll all have to catch in here. She's sharp. She's lightly raced. She has some nice upside. She'll go second, start off a short little break. Just a lot of positives for her, David. And I think you were pointing out the biggest positive might be the rest of this field doesn't seem to have a lot of early speed.
Yeah, we'll take a look at Risk Threshold's most recent race when she was not only a winner, but was one that was quite visually impressive in victory this day, as she's under just a strong hand ride until the middle of the stretch here. And Junior Alvarado goes to the whip at this point, but she's already put this field away, and she was beating a decent first level allowance field. Clearly, competition that's not really stacking up against what she's going to meet this day. So she is going to be stepping up in class for this race, but the 89 buyer speed figure that she earned does compare favorably to the others in here, maybe Secret Money withstanding. The concern with her is that going back to the early part of that Aqueduct meet, it seemed like the rail was a significant advantage. That particular rail setting the week of September 14th on the outer turf course, and she was right down on the inside every step of the way. A lot of those outer turf races were just dominated by rail horses. So I wonder if that effort's a little bit enhanced, but she's going out for a dangerous barn. She's got dangerous speed. I've got to respect her.
Cecile is the next one we'll take a look at. She's stakes placed going long. This is actually going to be her first turf sprint. We've seen her sprint a couple times on the dirt to start her career, but since those first 2 dirt races, it's been 8 straight on the turf, all going a little bit longer. She'll cut back in here. She was 4th in the Violet last time out. The runner-up that day, Beach Bomb, came back to finish 3rd in the Grade 2 Rodeo Drive over at Santa Anita last weekend. Just trying to get a feel for where she is in here. Kind of a wild card on the cutback. Just not exactly sure how she's going to stack up in this turf sprint.
Yeah, she was actually entered to sprint on September 22nd in an allowance race at Aqueduct, and I actually picked her that day because I thought she was a little interesting turning back. I think she's got some attributes that could translate well to a turf sprint. I just don't get scratching out of that spot and running in this much tougher race instead. She's a little tough to make a case for here because she would not only have to handle sprinting, she'd have to be a lot better sprinting than she was going longer distances. So she's one that I'll keep an eye on. If she's a gigantic price in this race, maybe I'll put a few bucks on her, but she's a little tough for me to strongly endorse.
Outside of her is Tequila, who's grade 3 placed, who's a runner-up going 6.5 furlongs in an allowance race last time out over at Kentucky Downs. And that was one of the better recent efforts from her. She is another that feels like she'll have to probably step up with this group. And I'm not sure if 6 furlongs is what she wants, but where do you think she fits? 20-1, you have her on the morning line here.
Yeah, this is going to be a theme with, I think, a few horses that we talk about in a row here. If sprinting on the turf is what they really want to do. And Tequilera is another one where she spent most of her career going longer distances. I think you could make the argument that she might prefer going a little bit longer when she could be forwardly placed in slower paces. And I just don't think she's got the speed to stick with a horse like Risk Threshold early. And she hasn't proven that she's one that she can do it from off the pace.
Kind of a interesting horse is the next one up. How about Dem Apples, who stakes placed with the blinkers on? You figure she should be forwardly placed in here, but she is 0 for her last 9, so not exactly a win machine. Just feels like they're trying different things with her, trying to figure out exactly who she is, but there's a big race or two in there with her, and just the way this race shapes up, she could get a pretty nice trip in here.
Yeah, I thought she was a little bit interesting when she first got into the Saffie Joseph barn last winter. It looked like she had started to run some improved performances, but then she kind of hit this plateau, and she really hasn't developed much over the past 6 or 7 starts, I should say. She was no match for Secret Money when they met in that Royal North 3 back. Since then, she's come back with a couple of allowance performances where she's run okay, but not quite good enough to make you consider her a win candidate here. So I'm afraid of this barn, especially at a price, but I couldn't quite pull the trigger with her.
Mohawk Trail is a grade 3 winner, but has not raced since March over at Tampa. A couple starts back, she's in the Honey Fox behind Chili Flag, and Chili Flag has gone on and had a really nice year. We see her in the race in the Music City last year at Kentucky Downs behind Secret Money. Coming into that race, she had just won the grade 3 Ontario Colleen. So from a class standpoint, I'm not concerned. I don't think she'll be dismissed on that end. I just wish there was a little more recent racing from her right now. That's the concern that I have with her stacking up against this group. And it also sort of feels like a starting point for her, just trying to get this 6 furlong race under her and then step forward, stretch out a little bit in her next start. Talk to us about Mohawk Trail.
Yeah, in terms of raw ability, she might be as good as anybody in this race, but you wonder if turning all the way back to the 6 furlongs is just a place for her to get in a race off the layoff for an eventual stretch out, maybe looking at a winter campaign in Florida, like Kelsey Detter sometimes likes to do. So we'll see. And I have the same concern as you that she's just had trouble staying on the racetrack recently. I mean, she raced against Secret Money in that Music City back in September of 2023. She's raced twice since then. Secret Money's raced 8 times since then. So we just haven't seen much of her lately.
And rounding out the body of the field is My Kentucky Girl. Doesn't have a whole lot of turf form, though, David. The first 2 turf races were well earlier in the career. Since then, it's been a lot of dirt sprints. Most recently, you could probably put a line through. The horse was basically eased back, coming off a couple-month break. It feels like a real horse that's hard to get a read on for me here.
Yeah, I looked up both of those turf races from early in her career, both going a mile in California, 12 horse fields. She was 11th and 12th and just didn't really finish or look like she was handling the turf in either of those races. I mean, she's got to be a frustrating horse because she's shown ability on occasion. She is just so inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get from her from one race to the next. So I guess they're trying turf, maybe hoping that she wakes up on the right side of the bed this day and decides to put forth her best effort.
Well, let's get to the selections now. The last 3 horses are all main track only horses. So if there's a little bit of rain, you'll probably see them show up. You're going to put Secret Money on top, and I can completely understand why. This is a horse who's coming out of just way, way better races.
Yeah, I was really torn between her and Risk Threshold. And the more I thought about it, while I do think that Risk Threshold speed makes her a real threat to go gate to wire, I just trust Secret Money more at a spot like this, given her proven class lines. So I'm going to hope that she can find a little more pace than we're seeing on paper to make that late run.
I'm going to put Loon Cry on top. I've just been so impressed with the way this horse finds the wire. Should be able to save all the ground. I am concerned about the race shaping here, so I don't want to take any much shorter on Loon Cry. Get a little value on this one if you're going to try to play that one on the win end. Maybe we can get some value with Love Appeals, who can perhaps sit a trip and get the jump on some of the others in here who will come running late. So I'll stack them 1, 5, 3, 4 for David, 4, 5, 1, 8. However, you're playing race number 7 on Saturday at Belmont at the Big A. We wish you the best of luck.
Hey, let me give you a hot tip. If you liked the content that you've seen before, click on the like and subscribe button right here. And of course, for more DRF videos like Race of the Days, stakes previews, click on the videos right here.